I have one last question. So the ARP funding, and the amount of $3,232,274.89, which is allotted to the Trimble School District, ARP funding. You have to comply with the NIH and CDC guidelines, which are always changing. So whenever they do, not if, but they will, enforce vaccines on our children, I wanna know each one of you sitting up here where you stand with that. It's hanging, the money's hanging over your heads.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
So, the funding that you guys are receiving is in the amount of $3 million.
ESSER funding.
$3 million.
Yeah.
So, in order to receive that, you have to comply with the ever-changing NIH and CDC guidelines. So, eventually, it's not when, I mean, it's not if, it's gonna be when, they are going to enforce that the children be vaccinated.
Yeah, they're already trying.
So, and the staff, so where do you guys stand, each individual, could you answer me individually where you stand on that? Are you going
Well,
to comply?
first of all, they haven't mandated that, let's hope they don't. Second of all, there is no vaccine for COVID. I've got CDC's definition of a vaccine right here.
Exactly, it's not a vaccine, it's an injection.
Okay, so there is no vaccine for COVID. But if there was one, I personally, I couldn't vote to enforce it on our students.
Well, I think the reason why she's asking too is because OU's already posted that they're, that every
I know where
staff.
they're at. I know people that's,
Every
works
staff
there,
and
right.
every
There's already-
person that goes there has to be vaccinated by November, I think it's November something.
right,
Unless
and
they
then
have
they
a
start the
religious
disciplinary
Or,
progress.
yeah, it'll be disciplinary, which, there's actually other colleges. and
But like I said,
stuff like that.
I'm hoping that through everything, it's gotta go through the system from lawsuits to what have you, but, you know, and I don't know why anybody has not challenged this injection as not being a vaccination that don't meet Webster or the CDC's definition of a vaccination.
They've changed.
Vaccination is when you inject some form of a microbe, either dead, damaged, or altered, so that your body can build natural immunity. It's on CDC website, if any of you want to look it up, and this is an RNA modifier, it's not a vaccine.
They have since then, they've updated it 3 times now, so that definition,
CDC's still showing the original one, last time I knew. Now Webster Dictionary changed their definition of what a vaccine is, but.
you can still open a book and find it, but, so can you guys answer the question?
I'd be glad to answer you, okay?
Okay.
If you're asking me, I took the vaccine and I feel like I took a vaccine. Now, do I think it 100% protects me? No. I think it was developed differently because that kind of thing is always changing. That's my personal belief, okay? I know you folks have heard this over and over and you're thinking, oh, believe me, I'm as tired of COVID as all of you are, really. My family has went through a lot of things, okay, with COVID too. So I think we all have. But I will let the science guide me. I will not let the TV guide me. I am a nurse and I've been a nurse for a long time. And I've worked in healthcare. I've had to wear a mask in my life. Actually, I'm retired, but I still go back to the nursing homes. Not now because I'm not allowed to take students in because of COVID. But when there is an infection or something, we have to put on our mask, you know, that type of thing. So I believe in science. That's the way I've been educated. So I'm gonna let that drive me. Do I like things forced on people? I really don't. So I wish that people could, if we could try to look at it from a higher level, not from beliefs or political beliefs and conspiracy theories, and try to understand from the big picture what's going on. So, would I try to force that on your children? No, personally, I would not try to force it on the children.
That's what I'm saying, Kathy. I'm not saying I'm against
policies-
people getting it. I'm just against
Yeah,
voting
we're not against
if
Right,
you
the,
don't-
the bottom line is, so you guys wouldn't vote on a vaccination if that guidelines change to basically not receive,
If we were-
not receive the rest of the funding for the school district.
So, I don't know, we're talking about a scenario that
Right, it hasn't happened.
it hasn't happened.
Well,
It's
So-
coming down the
I mean,
pipeline.
And I don't
Right.
know, we're not there yet, so I can't tell you. So I know I see you going like, but that's just, all I can tell, I'm just
So
trying to be
no,
honest with
yes.
you.
But
So,
you're not, because you're not answering my question.
exactly what is your question?
My question is, are you going to support it? Are you going to,
If it was
Vote in
based on
favor.
the science and I believe that it was factual and it was for the well-being of public health, yes, I would.
okay, now, can everybody else answer the question?
Yeah, I'll answer it. I don't know. Because I don't know what's true. And I don't know if what you're telling me is true, I don't know what the other side's telling me is true. I have a
Follow the
daughter
money.
that makes COVID tests, okay? She has a degree in microchemistry, she went to school here, okay? She's not been vaccinated. Her boyfriend is a nurse, he has not been vaccinated. But, my daughter says masks are the safest thing, safer than a shot. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I trust her because she's actually working in the field. So for me, I have to look at what's best for the kids in the district, not just my feelings, okay? Not just what I think is right or wrong. I have to look at what's best for the kids. So I'm gonna make my decision, if that time comes, based on what I feel is the best for the children. Whether or not I believe the vaccine is right or wrong, I'm very one that does not believe you should mandate health issues. So it'd be very hard for me to support something that was mandated. And I understand you guys feel like you've been pushed aside because whatever. Both sides are making this into something that has just divided our country horribly.
Yes,
Horrible.
I agree.
Horribly, and we're trying to do the right thing, okay? We are honestly trying to do the right things, we're just not willy-nilly everything. It's a very, very hard position. I understand you have your beliefs, but there's a bunch of people that have the other beliefs. So we have to try to make our best educated decisions based on the information we have. And believe me, I don't go to the news for my information, okay? Okay? Because if you watch Fox News, you get it slanted this way. If you watch CNN, you get it this way.
It's all about division.
And somewhere in the middle is the truth. And it's up for me to figure that out. I can't have somebody coming in here telling me how I'm supposed to think. Can't somebody outside come and tell me how I'm supposed to think. So I have to do, and I'm gonna make my decision solely based on what I think is best. I can't make that decision now because it isn't to that point. But I will gather all the information that I've got, and that doesn't come from the news. And that's how I'll make my decision.
I appreciate you saying that, sir, and explaining it. I know people like to say trust the science, follow the science, believe science and stuff, but you have to also look into who's funding the science. Now, I don't know if you saw that the American Federation of Teachers heavily influenced the CDC's guidelines for opening. So, I mean, when you say that, you also have to make sure who's benefiting from that science, who's funding it, and, you know, just keep that in mind as you say, because
You also have to look at it from the other side too. Who's benefiting from not getting this or not passing this? You have to be push
I agree.
politics, Republican, Democrat, left, right, out.
Yeah, but if you're saying you aren't getting your information from the news, I'm assuming you probably mean like CDC or FDA or something like that. And that's might be where you're going or
That's not where I
not.
get it.
Okay, all right, but I just, you know, everybody has huge conflicts of interest, and this has been a problem for a long time, the
I
revolving
fully
door
understand
between
that.
industry and,
Big pharmaceutical has a lot of pull in a lot of places.
yes.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just keep that in mind as you're trying to make these decisions. I think parental rights should always be honored. At the end of the day, you know, that is a God-given, precious relationship, and every time you chip away at it, it does have long-term consequences.
Yeah, and I get that, and sometime we'll talk outside of here, I can tell you some things that will make you go, oof. just little things that make that parental decision a little harder than you think.
Well, I recently stepped down from being a court-appointed special advocate, guardian ad litem. I was the person in the courtroom who had to tell the judge, this parent is no longer capable of making those decisions for the child. And it is a freaking heartbreaking thing to do.
It is.
And
And so, were you in Athens County?
I worked outside the county. I didn't want to run into the parents at the grocery store. So,
So see, I got to see a lot of things, cause I helped deliver school lunches when school was shut down. So they couldn't get enough people to ride the bus, so I rode the bus. I seen things that will just break your heart.
yeah. I understand.
And that will factor into me immensely, because I seen things, I mean, I seen a grandma raising 9 kids in a house the size of this.
And
it's,
yeah, no, I've seen it too, so I understand, and I have to ask myself, how did we get here? Every single, police officer that's been in the, in their career for a long time, educator, social worker, judge, medical professional will say things have been getting worse. And I don't know what's causing that, but I think every time someone steps up to make a decision, whether it's, your child's medical decisions, it causes parents to step back, and that creates parents who don't know how to make these decisions for their children. And like I said, it's the parental-child relationship is an honor to be able to be in as a mother. So I just want people to consider, every time you tell that parent you are not capable of making that decision for yourself, you are chipping away at that relationship.
I will tell you, I had my first granddaughter last year.
Mhm.
My first grandchild. So I had to honor my son and his wife's decisions on what I was to wear.
Yeah.
We would appreciate you having a mask on, I don't have to wear it anymore. But those are things that's their right as the parent.
I agree.
right, yeah.
So, but when it comes to putting the child in with other children, that's where you have children, I don't wanna say this in a disparaging way, but we have a lot of poor kids in this district, a lot of them. And they're not always taken care of. Make sure that they're fed, make sure that they're healthy, make sure that they're taken care of. And those
Clean
are the kids
mask.
that I worry about,
Mhm.
okay? They're not gonna get medical attention, they're not gonna get, it's just the way it goes.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate, I mean, I've seen this my whole life. I just wanna see kids be able to have the same opportunities
And I can
that every
tell.
other kid has, and, but I'm gonna shut up, but, to answer your question, I don't know. But I'm gonna make an informed decision when that time comes. I'm not gonna base it on one side, it's gonna be not this side, not this side. It's gonna be what I think and what I see.
I really do appreciate your honesty, and I do feel that your response is authentic, and I
I'm sorry,
respect
the
that.
classes are fogging up like that.
If I could, I'm gonna to be in contact with you through email with information, since you're seeking information on both
I'm gonna
sides.
get mine, okay? Is
Okay.
that fine?
Well, I
Because
mean, I
that-
could
that-
send
that-
you
That
two
to me is coming from a biased position,
Okay.
okay, do you understand my point?
He
Okay,
wants to
I mean,
research it
honestly, do you
himself.
understand my point?
Yeah, so
Okay, so-
sometimes it's hard to research whenever there's censorship.
I'm a lot smarter than people think I am.
I'm not
I'm
underestimating
just-
you by
I-
any means.
I've been around this kind of stuff, I looked at stuff from different than almost
I've been around
everybody else.
too, I was in the military for
But
15
so
years.
I, I have a brother was in the military, I have a, union brother. My dad was in the military. I'm lucky enough that all my kids went to school here, and they all have jobs. They're all very productive members of society. I want every kid here to have that same opportunity, and that's where my thought process comes from. So, I'm gonna research, and believe me, I've done my research. I've done it for almost 2 years now. So when that time comes, I hope it never comes to that. I really hope it never comes to a mandate.
Me too, because there's a lot of kids that doesn't get vaccinated for the measles, the mumps,
Fine.
or anything like that. Some people's against all vaccinations.
Yeah, and I get that, and that has plenty of effect, but you also have to take into account the other side. It's not just that kid, it's the other kids that are gonna be around,
Yeah,
so.
but they're allowed going to Trimble unmasked without having the measles, the mumps, all these other mandated vaccinations.
Right,
Because
but-
we've reached herd immunity with those. That's the reason, because.
It's not the reason, it's a federal law.
Because, well, yeah, because we've got
Well,
herd
it's a federal law that
immunity.
says parents are allowed to, people are allowed to be free in this country and allowed to worship whatever God they so
Sir,
chose.
I just said, the reason that
It's
we
not the
don't
reason.
ask them to mask, if they don't get vaccine, well, they're not allowed.
If that's
I didn't
true,
think so. I
less
didn't
than,
know my
But
family
we have
members don't
reached
get
herd
vaccinated,
immunity
period.
on those diseases.
less than 10% of the population has been vaccinated for that. So your theory
For what?
is
For what?
crushed for the measles, mumps, and rubella. So less than 10% of the world's population. So
I-
you can't say that vaccine.
No, I meant from our,
has
in our
created herd
country,
immunity.
in our country.
All right.
I don't, in our country is what I was talking about.
Okay. Well, I'm talking worldwide. Less
Yeah,
than 10%
okay, I
has been
wasn't.
vaccinated against that.
We weren't comparing.
Okay.
Well, with me, I'm not saying one way or another whether the jab's good or bad. I'm just saying it's a parental right. That's where I stand on it. Don't,
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
know, and I feel that anybody that wants to get the jab should go get it, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sure.
If you wanna wear a mask, wear it.
It's got negatives and it's got positives. I'm confident.
Well, yeah, every year, I mean.
But that's up to each individual, that's up to each individual, and it's up to each parent to decide.
Exactly.
Who wants to go next?
Moving on.
Nobody else is gonna answer?
I'll answer your question. Go ahead. I joined, or asked to be appointed to this school board to take my wife's seat. Because she thought, that there was things to be done in the school district. I have a 15-year-old son who has asthma, who has all kinds of conditions, who I take to a specialist. This specialist said, get him the shot. Make him wear a mask. Now, this is not just a specialist. This is one of the best in the state of Ohio. You can look him up.
Mine did the same thing.
So, I asked my son, I didn't say go get it. I said, Eric, what do you wanna do? Now, he just lost his mother in February.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, guess what he said? I want the shot. So when we talked about masks, I said, Eric, what do you want? Masks don't bother me, Dad. I'll wear the mask. So he wears the mask.
Right, but you're giving him a choice.
I gave him a choice.
Right.
So let me finish.
Okay.
I come from a place that nobody in this, well, these folks up here know where I come from. Because they've had to deal with me. I'm one of the most difficult people you'll find in this room.
Amen.
I come from a side that says you can't force anybody to do anything. And I fought for that for 40 years. But sometimes, whether we like it or not, you have to say, okay, just like this. Do I like it? No. Do I wear it? Yes. I believe that, and I worked in a hospital for 30 years straight, so I'm like Kathy, and
I've worked with him.
so I had to wear a mask when I went into surgery because, and it's the same mask I wore in surgery. The same mask. So I wouldn't spread germs to somebody who was having surgery or delivering a baby, or all kinds of reasons. So I can't sit here today and tell you that that money's gold to me. That means nothing to me. It means something to the school district, it means something to you folks so your kids can get educated. So we can have air handling units, so we can keep the power on, all those things. But I can't sit and tell you a year from now, or 2 years now, or 5 years from now, that I would ever vote for it or against it. Because 6 months from now, somebody may come along and say, this vaccine's all wrong. It's killed 1 million people. Or they may come along and prove that has saved a million people. So I got the vaccine. I wear a mask. I had COVID. My son wears a mask. He got COVID. Did I have to go in the hospital at 66 years old now? But I can't tell you today what I'll do 6 months from now. And anybody that'll sit here and tell you they will, probably should be ashamed of themselves.
I'm not ashamed, I believe in parental rights.
Well, no, I believe in rights. But what happens if they come along and we're all sitting there saying, yeah, I'd force you.
It's still
and
parents' right.
Something comes up that says the vaccine's all wrong.
I appreciate your honesty on that, and you're right, my views have changed from 18 months ago. And I don't know what they will be in 18 months. I think you will always be safe erring on the side of parental rights and personal liberties, but thank you for sharing your story.
You know.
I don't know if it'd make any difference, and I know there's probably people from both sides in this room. 470 children have died from COVID. Now, a vast majority of them did have pre-existing conditions. It sounds like your son falls in that category of having a pre-existing condition. And fact check me on this, because I haven't confirmed it, but a parent told me the other day, I did fact check it, take it with a grain of salt, but the CDC came out and said that is only like 8 children who actually died from only COVID as their diagnosis. But during that same time, nearly 50,000 children died from other causes, all-cause mortality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 2,000 children die from car accidents every year, 600 drown. Adenovirus that causes pink eye and cold has a 55% kill rate in high-risk populations. Cold sores is the #1 cause of sporadic encephalitis. And if that isn't caught soon enough, that has a 70% kill rate. And that usually affects small children and very old people. So, I mean, you can't stop. I don't think you can stop death, but you can stop people from living, especially children, who there's thankfully lots of studies that show they're very low risk of this. And it sounds like your child is high risk, but does any of that information kind of change your view?
Well, since I worked in the hospital, I knew that people died.
Yeah.
My wife was 53 years old. Had a massive heart attack and about that and died.
Yeah.
Could I change it? No.
I'm very.
You know, I'm just trying to tell you.
Was she
that
put down as a COVID death?
Any given time, you know, something could come out that could change my mind one way or another.
Yeah.
But I'm probably kind of like Kevin, I believe that, you know, you're the parent, you have a choice.
Thank you.
I have always, for over 40 years, fought for people's choice. That's just who I am, and that's what I've done. But I'm no longer on that side of the world. I'm sitting up here because I thought that there was some good I could do. And there's some good in this community that we can do. And there's kids in this community that can need some things that my wife thought that they could use.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
And, you know, one was that cabinet.
Yeah.
You know, they talked about the cabinet. She went to 50 or 60 kids and asked them. She just didn't come up with that idea. She went and asked kids.
Yeah.
So I wanted to carry that on. But to sit here today and tell you that I would make this decision or that decision, I couldn't do that. Because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I may say, yeah, and then fall over dead tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or
I talked to
then-
a lot of politicians who will tell you one thing and then change
I-
it. So I thank you for your honesty.
Well, I'm not a politician.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
We've heard that before.
Yeah. So, you know, but, you know, I know what you wanna do. And believe me, I've held a camera. I've asked the very same questions you guys are asking to politicians. So I can come back in 6 months or a year from now and say, you said this 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, politicians don't care.
No, politicians don't care, I do. I care what happens to each and every one of you.
Politicians don't care, you're good.
So that's my answer, and I'm sorry I can't give you a yes or no. But it's an answer that I couldn't live with if I gave you a yes or no.
I can respect that.
I understand, ma'am, like, if you want basically a yes or a no on this, and I like to be on the informed side of gathering as much information about this problem as I possibly can to make a decision of that nature like that. And I know it could be yes, it could be no, and I understand that, but we try to look out for the Trimble local school district, the children. The children are the main entity in this system. Buildings and such, that's secondary. The children themselves, I guess, that's what we look out for. And we try to do it with an informed decision on that matter.
So if you're gonna make an informed decision, you have to do some deep research. So,
I know everybody gets hung up on dollars and cents. I just have to say this. In my lifetime, I have never made a decision on well, I can't say never because I bought cars, so we all do that. But I have went 10 years without a raise because of my decisions. I would never put a dollar sign on any kid in the world. Never. So whatever it was, 3 million or 4 million, there's reasons that money, it's not just because of mass. So I don't, when we talk about, I don't even listen to dollar signs, and I'll just be honest with you. What's important to me is what happens to our children in this school and other places.
okay, well, we haven't addressed it today, we can wait till the next board meeting, but there have been several deaths in children 0 to 19 from the vaccine, pericarditis, encephalitis, and a handful of other complications from the injection. I don't mean, it's not a vaccine, the injection. And so, we haven't yet discussed that. So I will sign up on the next board sheet so I can bring empirical, peer-reviewed studies, so, and, VAERS reports. So, because if you want to make a decision that's gonna affect our children's lives and their well-being, then you better know the risks and the benefits. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, facial coverings.
Yeah, we were
Are they not gonna
recommended
answer?
by our attorney to pass a resolution that, we enacted policy, policy 845101, I'm sorry, I apologize. And so we need a vote for that, and we also need a vote for a blended learning resolution. And to give you a little detail around that real quickly, last year, or during the pandemic, the state legislature afforded districts through a legislative act the ability to go into remote status. And the remote status was the status when we had students in Trimble who were not attending in person at all. Those were the kids that were just out in what I'll call cyberland, we'll call it for lack of better words. That is not afforded to us this year. That has been stricken from us by the legislature. But if we were to get to a point where we felt like we needed to take a pause, there are different rules around blended learning, but it would allow us to go into a status where kids could learn remotely, which would be something we do not want to do, as we spoke earlier, but it would afford us that opportunity. We need to pass this resolution tonight to have it on record, to allow us to have that liberty if we choose to do that for the health and safety of the school. Again, that's not something I think we're gonna probably exercise near as frequently as we did last year. We're gonna try to keep our kids in school. I will tell you, and I didn't mention it earlier, I am happy to tell you the last 3 days we've had 0 new cases, so.
Great,
Yes.
that's great. And our goal is to keep the kids in school.
That's the
It's just
number
that
one
You just have to
concern.
have this, I guess.
In-person instruction.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
It's because the library sends out free COVID tests and they don't stock them, just saying.
What?
I didn't hear you.
The library gives out free COVID tests, so everybody's doing that instead of going to the doctor, and no one records them. That's probably why the case is.
There is a little bit of that going on. So just
Lot of
curious,
it.
do
I
you
know
know,
quite a few people
does
with
the Gloucester
vaccinated
Library
right
have
now.
them?
Yes.
I think that's a problem, systemic problem across Ohio.
Mhm.
I mean, I agree with you. No question. I mean, I'll sit here and tell you, I took 2 tests and one of them was negative. My second one came back positive.
Positive, yeah.
Yeah, so, I,
What? Oh, hold on just a second.
What facial covering policy did you guys just reference? I didn't catch the number you just stated.
oh,
It's,
Dash 82.
I keep forgetting we don't have a copy of the agenda.
8450.01, which Mr. Hurd clearly told me last week was already in place.
it is.
So what is the board making a motion for then?
This is just a motion to support the fact that we did move forward and put it in place and have facial coverings in place.
But didn't you already have to have this policy in place?
It is in place.
Do you guys use
What's the
Neola?
motion for then?
We do,
So that gives you actually ultimate power to make these calls, right?
it's in the policy, yes.
So
ma'am.
this is just kind of, it really doesn't play place, it's just kind of for show, is that correct?
This was a procedural action that was recommended by our attorney.
It's kind of disappointing that you guys chose to vote away your power, and I don't know why superintendents would choose to take that on. You're trying to take on a choice that should be made by 5 people, where parents can then address the board and it can be discussed and then voted on.
But it was our choice to give him that, because we can't always be meeting in an emergency situation.
But what is this
Right, but now
then?
you're giving one person the power to either listen to us or not listen to us.
Last year-
Or
Last
votes
year,
against it.
last year,
What
he
about
had
the
to
other
move
side?
so
You know what
quickly.
I'm saying? So there's just as many people on the other side arguing. And they
On
wanted,
what
they,
other side?
they want masks completely, they want it from the beginning, they want all this stuff.
Well, yeah, but that should be a choice.
They
If you
can
wanna
have
wear a
them if they don't
mask,
wear 'em.
that's
Yeah.
fine. If I don't wanna wear one, that's
I
fine.
understand there's a.
Simple.
That's fine.
But now you're giving one person the decision making of this whole process.
You did pick one side. You picked the math
Yes,
side.
yes,
Last year, let me just tell you, so honestly and openly, last year when we were going through the worst part of this, as far as procedure and that type of thing, there was policies written on, with CDC and all that input, and they kept changing. We had to do something to give him some authority so he could change quickly
Change
based
what he
on the
wants to.
needs.
But he's also the superintendent
Well,
of
right,
the school district.
right, and so he could make those decisions. We trust our superintendent.
Well, I.
But you guys are responsible to the voters.
We are, and we
Right.
did
Yeah.
approve that.
Yeah,
We did approve
Mr. Hurd
that.
printed something out for me on September 8th, 2021 at 12:40 PM that says this policy that you're about to make active is active.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the point of the
So
motion?
how's
if
it
it's already
active?
We're
if
just
you're-
reaffirming.
it's just for
What do
show.
you mean?
I'm really confused. Sunshine Line, I'm baffled.
It's a show for us for
It
tonight.
sounds to me like you guys
It's a
printed it
procedural.
up, put it out there a
Right.
while ago, and now you're just getting to.
And it was posted on the
point of-
website. That-
Okay, I understand that, but you're also making a motion right now to vote on it,
We're not voting on the policy, we're affirming the fact that we're using it.
so you're affirming the fact that.
But it's
you're-
already affirmed as of 12:40 PM on 9/8.
And you know. back
This
to
is
your
for
point,
show for us,
and
guys.
I do understand that we are responsible to the voters and, to the parents, to the community. But that includes all parents, all community, all kids.
Yeah, I understand that.
Exactly.
But I'm also asking you,
Right.
where's that letter at?
Did you listen to all
I
parents last
saw
year?
I
that,
mean,
but we also have to look at
Thank
the
you.
public health perspective too.
Wait, are you listening to all parents? or
but,
you're
but
listening
it's
to all
not a
parents?
public health aspect, it's 0.0002% of 365 million people that's been infected.
I'm not sure where you're getting your statistics from, and I'm not saying that they're not right, but we did see that things changed after that too.
I just looked
So
this up over a
after
week
the
ago.
sur-
Kevin.
after the survey. Listen, I'm not gonna argue.
Oh, I'm not gonna
Okay.
argue the point
So
either,
we're
but you
gonna-
shouldn't
we're
direct
gonna-
somebody to make one
We
decision.
trust our superintendent
Okay, I
to
understand
make
that,
those decisions.
I
He
understand
has to
that,
act quickly
but also we should
and
have
for the
rights
best
too.
interest of the children. and the staff.
The best interest of the children, the best interest of Trimble local fucking school district.
Kevin.
Getting $3 million.
I'm gonna ask
That's
you to
over the
refrain
line.
from your
That's over the
language.
line, so.
Wait a minute, you can't get anything for $3 million.
That's.
I didn't tell you
We
that.
will not
No.
have that here.
Nobody voted for $3 million.
Okay. No, I didn't say you didn't vote for $3 million, but he's over mask mandating.
Anybody? Time's up, let's go.
He can't finish talking?
Yeah, he's been asked to leave by the superintendent. So it's time to
Okay,
go.
I'll leave. Yeah, I'll leave.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Actually, give me my phone.
I'm recording it.
You can go ahead.
I have one last question.
about recording. Were we not supposed to be notified if we were being recorded? I know these are
Yes.
public meetings.
Yes. We should have been, but
We
that's,
should have been.
That's not-
I'm right here with the big camera, so I think you know.
at this point,
Yeah, it's already over.
We have a,
We're gonna move on.
yeah,
Okay, so the facial coverings, Trimble Local School District approves the superintendent decision to enforce the use of facial coverings per policy 845.0, protective facial coverings during pandemic and epidemic events. I make the motion to approve the facial covering action.
I will second.
Okay, I'm looking at the policy
Can we
8450
please have a vote?
dash 01.
Yes.
There are exceptions.
Excuse me, we are in the middle of a vote.
I'm looking at the policy. And the policy itself, there are 6 exceptions, and the first one is face coverings in the school setting are prohibited by law or regulation.
Yes,
Number 2, face coverings are in violation of documented industry standards.
so is that true?
Number 3, face coverings are not advisable for health reasons. Number 4, face coverings are in violation of the school's documented safety policies.
I'll make a motion for the, blended,
thank you.
cause I know we're gonna have to, I mean, I hope we don't have to do it.
All right.
We need to-
I'll second.
Yeah, I hope we don't either.
Mr. Coy?
Yes, and like I said, John, you know, avoid it like
Oh, yeah.
technically the plague, but
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mrs. Tracy?
Yes,
Which way did that first two go? I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
I made the motion.
I second.
You seconded it. What was your vote? I didn't get it.
On what?
The first motion in regards to 845.
Mr. Coy and Mr. Arnold voted no, the others.
I voted
Yeah, that was a 3-2.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mr. Arnold did not have the policy, so he didn't have anything to look at.
If I got it,
All right. That's fine, I understand, apologize.
no, it's not. I should have.
we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll
I'll
make
make
it.
it.
I'll second.
Good time.
We gotta go to
We have to.
Oh,